Question mark? Put them together, merge them. And for us, it's actually going to be a merge join. Now I'm going to pull this over and we're going to have to actually backtrack, but I want to show you that if we pull this merge join down and try to hook our lookup to it, we'll go ahead and say whatever values match, and we want to use the left input there. We're actually going to see an error message that pops up. It's going to say the input is not sorted. Based on this transformation, it wants the data to come in a particular fashion on either side. Really, it's using that to do the match for us. So if we are playing around in it and there's something that we don't get exactly right, Integration Services is going to tell us what's wrong. So we know we have to go fix that now. So let's do that by deleting that connection that we had created and adding a sort to that. Now the sort that we're interested in is going to be those state provinces. So if we double click that, we'll just select that code that we had looked up and made the match before. And then we can hook that to our merge join. And then finally, we'll use our Excel source and make that connect to our other merge join. And when we set that one up, and I did it again, we're going to do the sort on the Excel as well, so that it knows it's coming in. There we go, in the correct order. So we'll sort that on our state and hook that up to our merge join. And then if we go in and select it, we can see we are doing the merge on our state province code versus our state. And the only information we want to get out of this is going to be the amount, that code, and the target. Getting rid of all of that, the state province names that we had before. And we'll say OK there. And then finally, we're going to go ahead and put it somewhere so that the end user can see that data. So this is going to be our destinations that we're interested in. And we'll use an OLEDB destination here and hook that up to our merge join. And we'll go ahead and use that source database again. And actually don't have a table already set up to store this information. So within this package, I'm going to create that table. So I'll do that just by selecting the new button next to the name of the table. And it's going to create the script for the table based on the metadata of all of the fields that are coming through. So we're going to go ahead and name this final table my sales target. And I can see that it has the amount, the target, and the state, those three columns that I just selected to go through. And we'll go ahead and say OK. It'll create that table for us. And we have a direct mapping now of those three columns. So we'll say OK on that. And looks good to me. Should we run it? Sure. Why not? I'm going ahead and saving that package. And we'll go ahead and say execute that package. And actually, as it executes, as it's pulling data and running through the transformations, we're going to be able to see the colors. As it's running, it's going to be yellow. If it succeeds successfully, it'll be green. And then if we do have a problem, as we can guess, it's going to show up red. So hopefully we won't see that at all. And it looks like we do have green. We can see the information as it's going through. We started with 32 rows from our source and 5 rows from our Excel spreadsheet. The aggregation brought that 32 rows down to 6. We did our sorts, which put them in the correct order. We actually didn't have all of the information that we needed to do that merge, so we only ended up with 3 rows that came out of that. And that's something that as we're going through and looking at this information, we want to track down. Why are we losing those rows? Where are they going? And record those rows so that we can go back and fix it for future runs. So, looks like everything succeeded. And if we go into that OLEDB destination, we can preview this table that we just created, that was just loaded. And this is showing us the data that's actually in there. And what we can see is that we have that state province the amount of sales for that full state and the target, so that we can see, looks like New Mexico did well, but Nevada did not do as well as we would have preferred. And we can start taking that information and hopefully helping those particular states work with their sales and get them back up on track. Okay. Any questions on integration services?
So Jessica, how do you view the rows that failed? You know, whichever ones didn't make it successfully in the merge.
Yeah. How do you
Their
view
history.
those rows that failed? There's a couple of different ways depending on which transformation we're working with. For the merge in particular, we're not going to be able to siphon those out. We'd actually want to look at those from a previous version, which was our lookup. That's really where those rows didn't come through successfully. And we have a couple of ways to do this. Probably our best bet is we'll start with a flat file there. And we can go ahead in that lookup, instead of selecting ignore failure, we can say redirect those rows to a no match output. So if for some reason we did not find that value in our map, then we know there's probably, maybe the state was spelled wrong, or somebody fat fingered something when they typed something into the system. And then we can hook up those no match rows. We're actually going to be able to see it tells us that's the no match output. And we can record those rows. In this scenario, it's to a flat file, but we could put those in a database or anything like that as well. Now, if we didn't have a no match error, if it was something like we had a conversion error, or depending on the transformation, there's different reasons we'd have errors. We also have an error output. Let me just do a flat file again. We're going to make this a whole sea of transformations. I can pull that red arrow from that lookup over to my flat file. And it's going to say if there's an error within this transformation. For this one, it's saying there would be a truncation error. We can go ahead and fail that component, which is by default, or redirect those rows. So then we can record those again in a flat file or database or whatever we prefer to be able to track those down. Any other integration services questions?
If the original files were not SQL, some other database format, is the Microsoft BI tool still a good choice for dealing with that kind of data source?
Why on earth would you have a source not Microsoft? Question is, can we use other sources besides Microsoft to pull this data out? So we don't have SQL Server. Let's say we have Oracle or DB2 or Teradata. We can absolutely use integration services. There's different providers that we can create with these connection managers. And we have the option of OLADB or ODBC. So as long as we have that provider to connect to it, if it comes up for me. It's thinking just a little bit. But those different providers that come through, there we go. And we can see a variety of them here that we can hook up to. And then there's also other companies as well as free tools out there that allow you to have different connections and different providers.